Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. My name is Jesse Milestone, and I would just like to extend a deep and sincere thank you to Mr. Daniel Pollock Pelsner, the writer of the New York Times article exposing the racism in Mary Poppins. Why hasn't someone done this before? This classic film that we all know and love is just an insidious plot to spread racism in the world. Now, I should have seen this coming. I really should have seen this coming, right? I should have known already myself without being told, because when you look at Mary Poppins, there isn't a single person of color in that movie that I can recall. And as everybody knows, if your movie doesn't represent at least 3 different races, it is racist. It is obviously racist. I mean, how dare they? How dare they not represent? It doesn't matter when your movie is set, when it was made, what's it about, who's in it. If you're not representing at least 3 different races, racism, horrible, disgusting racism, cruel. We should just strike it from history. We should never show our children again. And as if that wasn't bad enough, that's not even what this article is about. This article is about something much more insidious, much, much darker. Literally. This is about the scene where the Chimney Sweeps have dirty faces. They have soot, dirt on their faces. Because racism, obviously. Obviously, anytime you have a color of something that gets on your skin that is not your skin color, you're being racist. They were clearly going for some horrifying blackface caricature in this scene, clearly by having spots of dirt all over their faces. How shameful. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, the entire profession of chimney sweeping is really just racist all in and of itself. I mean, how insensitive can you be as a white person to go get dirt on your skin, get soot all over your skin, so that you look like no one's skin is really actually the color of soot, so that you look kind of like someone who's not white, but then you can just go home and wash it right off. This is obviously a metaphor, right? There are people who have to live with that, or not that, but a similar skin color their entire lives, and you can just wash it right off. So no, white people should not be chimney sweeps. Do away with that profession. Get rid of it. Get rid of that insensitive profession. I would rather people die from fires started by dirty chimneys than have us risk offending any more people who have been oppressed for so long. Why can't they just go a day without a racist profession like chimney sweeping? So this scene, right, in Mary Poppins, they have dirt on their faces, and the worst part, as he points out, is beloved Dame Julie Andrews. How could you do this to us? She takes out powder and actively applies black powder to her face. Now, come on. She's not just trying to fit in with the boys and show that she can get a little dirty sometimes, too. No. This is not a comment on how it's okay to be a tomboy and whatnot, and how it's okay to get a little dirty and not all be so prim and proper. No, guys. This is her obvious satiring of black people. This is obviously, by putting black powder on her nose, what she's doing is saying that she hates black people, or that she finds them ridiculous, or she would like to caricaturize them and rule in cruel, rude, and unkind ways. Shame on you, Julie Andrews. You should give up your dameship over this. I can't believe that I've never thought this before. I mean, when this movie came out, there must have been outrage at the time that was just hush-hushed and covered up by the media. There must have been. How could people not have been offended? This is probably the worst hate crime since, I don't know, that guy who got drugged behind a truck to death for no reason. This might be worse than that. I mean, for shame. How could you just hurt these people, ruin race relations? What a despicable thing. This is clearly one of the worst things that black people have ever had to deal with. It's awful. It's shameful. Just burn every copy of Mary Poppins and never watch this again. And while I'm at it, this movie does not just offend people of color, it offends everybody. This is possibly the most insensitive movie ever made. I mean, just look, right? We have the scene where the little boy, where Michael wants to give his tuppence to the bird lady so that, he can feed the birds and then maybe she can feed herself later. And Dad doesn't let her. Doesn't let him give it to her. Presumably, obviously, because he wants her to die. Because he hates homeless people and believes that homeless people deserve to die. That's clearly the message in this movie. The message in this movie is clearly, keep all the money for yourselves. It's just a rampant support of big business. That's all this movie is promoting big business and conservatism. Invest your money in the bank instead. Trust the corporate system, and you will be rich and prosper, and homeless people can just die. And while we're at it, this movie also very insensitive to the LGBT letters community, the people who aren't straight. Very insensitive to their community. I mean, missed opportunity. Clearly, when I watch that movie, I think, the cook and the maid really should have been gay for each other. They should have been two lesbians. And the fact that they're not is deeply offensive to me. Because you had an opportunity to represent a queer couple on cinema. You had an opportunity. You could have. It would not have served the story or made a difference in the plot whatsoever, but you could have done it. And because you didn't, hate crime, homophobic, hate crime, you have a responsibility to take every single opportunity in your everyday life to go out of your way and make sure everybody feels included all the time. And if you don't, it's a hate crime. How could you, Mary Poppins? How could you do this to me? And while we're at it, this movie is also ageist. This whole movie, they treat the children like they're children. They don't give them any agency. They don't let them make decisions for themselves. They don't let them indulge in trying to be grown-ups and just run off on their own and make their own decisions and govern their own lives. It's so ridiculously, you can't just go around treating children like they're children. That's so insensitive. How could you be that insensitive to act like, young people are somehow less important and they mean less just because they're so young? And while I'm at it, this to me is one of the absolute worst, is the anti-veteran hatred in this film. I mean, you have an older man, a former naval captain, whatever they're called, captain, that's a thing, right? Naval captain, right? Who obviously is suffering from some sort of PTSD because he can't get past the war and he's always firing his cannon in his ship and he thinks he's still in it, right? This man is suffering. This man probably has PTSD, and you are just characterizing him and satirizing him? I mean, come on. The nerve of you. I bet at least 20 veterans took their own lives after seeing that ridiculously insensitive treatment of our troops after they leave service. How could you, Disney? How could you? Think of the children. Think of the veterans. Think of all the unrepresented people that weren't in this movie. Why wasn't there an Asian person in this movie? Why wasn't there a Mexican in this movie? Obviously, Disney hates Mexicans. Wow, it's just a bunch of Republican propaganda at this point. Obviously, anybody who likes this movie is an uber Republican conservative asshole and should just smack themselves in the face. Because this is what I realized. If I like this movie, if I enjoyed this movie, I must be racist. I am supporting racism now. What a shock. What an absolute shock. Anybody who likes Mary Poppins is clearly an ultra-right conservative douchebag and a racist to boot. And I'm so thankful to Mr. Pollock Pelsner for helping me examine my own prejudice. I guess I'm just a racist, and I never knew. I must disavow and spend the rest of my life repenting for the evil deed I have done in liking Mary Poppins. And you should too. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share this with the world. If you like my content, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. Also, you should all, if you haven't yet, check out the amazing music video, Forget Everything by the band Lunch. That's my little sister's band, and it's awesome. And download their singles as well. Now, I just want to take a quick moment before I turn this off to thank every single person who supports me and who has gone out of their way to send me something via the mail, be it a letter, a card, or all of the many wonderful gifts I've received, all the various and sundry things from Tony Clark, the ever surprising new things that I may or may not get, like a God Empress headband, the port from Laura's Story, the wonderful goodies from across the pond, everybody who's ever sent me anything, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I keep all of these things. I treasure all these things. I also wanted to take a show off one of the most recent ones from my awesome supporter, Mike, who sent me these. These are wood-carved, limited edition. You can see what they are. Boba Fett and Darth Vader, two of the most incredible characters ever created, and I can't wait to find an amazing permanent home for these on my walls. So thank you, Mike, so much. You guys mean the world to me. I am so humbled and honored by all of the wonderful ways that you have treated me as part of this community. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you again real soon.